Hello and welcome to another video. And what I want you to do, we're going to skip the introduction because what you need to do is you need to realize that this is weird. This whole thing is weird. The internet is a very weird place, okay? It is the realest fake place that has ever existed. In a way, it's even more real than reality itself. A hyper reality, one could say. We live in a world where the real is no longer real. It has been replaced by images, and not just any images, but simulations of reality that don't point to anything at all. Jean Baudrillard from his book Simulacra and Simulations. And this book, you can guess when he wrote that, but it's not 2012, 11, 2006 even, or like the 1991 or whatever. It was written in 1981, and the internet is what was created like 1986, I think, or something like that. Please correct me in the comments. Um, don't want to spread misinformation. And I think the core ideas that it presents fits so perfectly into the problems of our chronically online society, like loss of meaning, loss of identity, the coreification of things, and many, many more. Now, this is the first time I'm making a video based on summaries, on video essays about this book, right? Summaries and video essays, stuff like that. And I usually always read the actual work before. I always do my research, right? Like this is what like the my latest video. You should check it out, like the fall, right, or whatever. The Prince. I haven't made a video on that, but it would be very interesting. What's this? Nietzsche, okay? What is this? What is this? Carl Jung, right? Like, I read this stuff, I swear, bro. Like, I know you're dead. I know you're dead, but listen to me. I swear, bro. I'll read it. And it's so ironic. Like, the whole point of the book is that we don't deal with the real things anymore. Just simplified versions. You understand? You understand how ironic that is? And copies. I'm sorry, Baudrillard, okay? I'm sorry. Now, one of Baudrillard's first claims is that simulation does not merely copy reality, it it precedes and produces what we consider real. Baudrillard begins with this idea that the image or sign is no longer tied to a real referent, a real counterpart in reality. He introduces the famous four stages of the sign. He calls like a sign a symbol, right? First is that it is a reflection of profound reality. Then second is that it masks and perverts and it disturbs this reality a bit, right? It's a bit different. In the third point, the sign masks the absence of a profound reality. Is that I'll explain that later. But the fourth point is that it no longer has any relation to reality. It's its own sign. It points only to itself. And I want to break it down by using a staple of internet culture. At its core, Minecraft, the game we all know and love, is inspired by the real world. Trees, water, mountains, animals, farming, mining, exploring the world, building, right, creativity, it all reflects basic physical reality. It's not 100% realistic, of course, but it's based on real survival, building, and exploration, right? So it's a simplified version, but it still points back to something real, like how the world works, right? And the game is a creative imitation of life, a symbolic reflection. And the second stage, this is two, right? Number two. The second stage is that the image masks and distorts reality. So the sign still refers to reality, but it twists or exaggerates it. So Minecraft gets taken further by content creators, modded versions, SMP servers, right? Dream SMP, hardcore challenges, scripted drama, stuff like that. These are based on the game, but they start to distort the way we understand it. Minecraft suddenly becomes about storytelling, personas, and content, not just a game you play. And viewers might still know it's exaggerated, but it's still loosely tied to the real game. It's still reality inspired, but it's now content, performative, edited, and stylized. In the third stage, the image masks the absence of reality. What that means is that the science pretends to represent something real, but it does not anymore. And at this point, we've moved far away from the original game. The Minecraft movie with real actors, right? That's not about survival or gameplay or exploration. It is a bit, right? They explore the world, whatever. I watched the movie, probably I'm a babysitter, so I watched it like a little bit, right? But it's Minecraft. The core idea is Minecraft. It's not an exploration or whatever or a game. But Minecraft in name and theme only. It has nothing to do with the game anymore. It's not the game anymore. So AI generated Minecraft videos, or drama scripted by editors or bots or edits, right? A roleplay content where the game engine is just a background for completely fictional stories. It looks like Minecraft, but it's not really about playing anymore. It's a setting for narratives with no connection to the game's original purpose. It pretends to be about the game, but it's just content wearing a Minecraft costume. In the fourth stage, the image becomes pure simulation. The sign no longer has any connection to reality. It exists purely as its own thing. So Minecraft now is a cultural symbol. Minecraft is used in ways that have nothing to do with the game at all. It's a meme template, an aesthetic, a nostalgic reference, or a TikTok background, or even the little piggy game, you know that game probably. Um, and even people who have never played the game, they've never played it, recognize like the blocky visuals or the music. It's a symbol. It's a symbol that represents itself. It's a symbol of gaming, childhood, or YouTube culture. The sign points only to itself. The word Minecraft triggers emotions, ideas, and content, but not necessarily the actual game anymore. And it's not based on reality anymore. It's a simulation, refers only to itself. Now, Baudrillard argues that as a society, we now wholly live in the fourth stage, where signs refer only to other signs, not to any external reality. The simulation has replaced the real. This is not just about media, it's about how we construct reality itself in politics, identity, sexuality. In a way, everything is just vibes now, not the actual thing. And this exact thought is the foundation of what he calls the hyperreality, where simulations aren't false copies of the real, but become, in a way, more real than the real, and therefore replace it. We live in a world full of self-referential images where the copy has no original. Think of celebrities who are famous for just being famous, like, I don't know, Kim Kardashian, or with all due respect, the Rizzler, okay? But there's no real identity underneath the brand. Another idea of Baudrillard is the mass. Baudrillard talks about the mass, not just a crowd, but an unidentifiable collective that doesn't have a shared identity or deeper meaning. Instead, this mass is defined by one thing, and it's the active rejection of meaning, he argues. People don't come together around truth or values. They come together around images, brands, and vibes. We reject deeper meaning. This is something that Baudrillard really stresses about, that we actively reject deeper meaning. Meaning is complex and demanding. Understanding the world deeply takes effort and can be quite uncomfortable. Also, information overload causes fatigue. We're bombarded with so much data, right? We're bombarded with just constant blah, 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 whatever. Our brains prefer simple signs over complex truths now, and surface and style feel safe and easy. Brands and aesthetics provide identity shortcuts that don't require wrestling with ambiguity or existentialism, right? Following a trend lets people feel connected without deep shared beliefs. Marketable, easy to consume images sell better, encouraging us to reject deeper substance. Baudrillard predicted that everything would become a brand, from people to events to ideas. This process is even more prevalent now, and we like to call it coreification, right? Like the TikTok videos, like the cores when you see like something and it's like this vibe. This is like the thing, right? And it's turning complex things into simplified core videos on TikTok that are easy to package and sell, present, right? Sell to you. Popular cores like cottagecore, dark academia, which were originally more than just styles. They were, in a way, mini philosophies, many ways of life. They are deeply tied to how a person chooses to interact and view the world, their surroundings and themselves, right? The cottagecore with nature and stuff. All that is simplified into core videos, just the surface. And it's also what caused the tragic death of subcultures like the emos or the punks, because it all began as a deep, rebellious, and meaningful act of people forming communities around shared music taste, but also values and views. But with social media, suddenly everyone could be part of a subculture, at least at surface level. The expressive style that was, in a way, to externalize the deeper meaning, the deeper grappling uh, of life, right? The deeper grappling with life of that subculture, but also to find and connect with other members. This style became a mere costume that everyone could wear. And that's how subcultures quite literally imploded from the inside. And even after attempts of preserving it and calling out all the posers, the posers eventually won. And now subcultures, or rather their image, mostly survive on an aesthetic, on TikTok or on Instagram. People become brands and their personas are reduced to marketable cores, not just people. Everything from cultures, emotions, nations, regions, sports, even our potential romantic partners are now Doberman or Labrador boyfriend and black cat girlfriends, right? Even to the point of core itself, the coreification of core videos themselves, right? It's a bit crazy, right? Where styles and vibes get get endlessly compressed. They get endlessly compressed and recycled and repackaged, and we see that there's like these core videos, and now we make core videos of the core videos. Like, this is crazy stuff. When the mass rejects meaning, it becomes a mass of consumers, of signs, not individuals with beliefs or truths. No, 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 no. The mass just creates, consumes, and recycles brands and vibes endlessly, and the cycle feeds itself, causing meaning to slip away, become irrelevant. We don't need the thing if we can have the image. And Baudrillard's point isn't just that the images are fake, it's that that as a society, we choose to live inside these brands and cores, actively, actively rejecting deeper meaning. And this is why hyper reality is so powerful. It's because we actively we actively help making it real by actively rejecting deeper meaning, not passively. Another of Baudrillard's ideas is the Beaubourg effect. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's always the French. It was like, what? Why? Really? Why do you have all these letters? It's pointless. It looks cool, but it's pointless. The Beaubourg, yeah, Beaubourg, that's how we pronounce it. The Beaubourg effect. And Baudrillard discusses the Centre Pompidou in in Paris, also called the Beaubourg, a case study of hypermodern culture. It becomes a metaphor because the museum, for him, it doesn't revive art. In Baudrillard's eyes, it absorbs and neutralizes it like a cultural, some sort of black hole, right? And rather than inspiring reflection, the institution becomes a space of circulation, distraction, and in a way sterilization of art. The building's transparency and openness that are symbolized by like its pipe hanging out, like its pipes hanging out and stuff. Like when I looked it up, it genuinely looks like it's under construction. But no, that's actually how it's supposed to look, with pipes and a facade that looks like scaffoldings, and this creates a feeling of being imperfect. Like, look, this is what I am. Like the pipes that are normally hidden are on display. The building literally tells you it has nothing to hide, but it's an illusion. It's an illusion of openness, democracy, and access. Baudrillard argues that they function to depoliticize and sanitize cultural memory. What this is they display everything in the name of modern art. By making everything visible, it actually becomes impossible to see what matters. The museum becomes a kind of simulation of cultural openness, but in reality it's a spectacle, a distraction. The transparency is performative. There's no real mystery, no real engagement, just a constant surface. And Baudrillard said this kind of spectacle creates a vacuum that sucks in meaning and prevents real depth and transformation. In other words, the museum doesn't engage with meaning. It simply performs it. It has become an echo chamber. Now think about social media. It's basically the Beaubourg Museum, right, displaying everything, because you're gonna see everything on the internet. Think of social media as Beaubourg on steroids. On TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, people expose everything. Thoughts, daily routines, their whole lives, therapy sessions, politics, identities, natures, everything you name, it's there. It feels raw, open, and transparent. Like nothing's hidden anymore. You can see everything. And that's the problem. Everything is on display, dug out, so we don't feel like digging deeper. Nothing feels sacred, meaningful, or deeper, right? Nothing feels. Everything is content. Everything is performance. And when you show absolutely everything, in a way, you also hide everything in an infinite amount of information. Especially companies take advantage of the Beaubourg effect. They appear to show you everything with behind the scenes and whatnot, and speaking in the language of the internet with memes, slang, and self-deprecating jokes. It's not real connection again. It's a costume party, right? Because what they've done is also it's not even real being a human. This can also be reduced to human coreification of being human. And what these companies do is you just need to wear a human costume, and that makes you human now because you perform as human core. And welcome, welcome. You're now a Homo sapiens, even though you're, I don't know, Mercedes Benz or Duolingo or whatever. And companies are appearing to show you everything, all the bloopers and things you were not supposed to see or whatever. You were very much supposed to see them. They participate in trends and show us how imperfect they are, like the Duolingo bird, right? Like being sassy about murdering your family or loved ones because you skipped your Spanish lesson. Like, you go, girl. But remember, if everything is on display, then nothing really is. The more pictures are shown, the more they turn into a chaotic bundle of color, stripped of meaning. The more voices speak, the more they turn into noise. Right? We just watch and we just absorb, and then we let it go. Which leads us to Baudrillard's next point: hyperreal conformism. Whether it's activism for climate or social issues, or in case of Baudrillard's example with the Holocaust, so historical trauma, when something is endlessly mediated and repeated, it becomes a simulation, a ghostly presence detached from the actual tragedy. Baudrillard is not denying that the Holocaust happened. He is warning that the way we repeat, reenact, and broadcast it in documentaries, films, museums, in political discourse as well, might ultimately become hollowed out. And it's the same with climate activism, where complex issues turn into hashtags and trends. The danger lies in the movement from testimony to repetition, as the event becomes a symbol being endlessly reproduced. It begins to drift away from its historical horror and towards abstraction. The more we show the Holocaust, the more we risk desensitizing people, making it unreal through overexposure. Now, you might say, how else can we deal with the Holocaust? Like, should we not talk about it, right? Should we not show that? How else can we remember this tragedy so that it won't be repeated, if not through media, by showing people, by simulation, right? And it's a valid point. It's a very good point. But the main problem is in how we deal with, for example, historical tragedies like the Holocaust, is that we treat them as they are a done event, right? They are done. And as if they're over, right? And it's true to some point. The physical act of the Holocaust is over, but the meaning of it isn't. The problem with that is that as soon as something is over, we have to make copies and simulations of it by necessity, by definition, because it's over. We have to make a copy. But the meaning of the Holocaust is not over. It's far from over. The Holocaust isn't just evil people doing evil things. It reminds us of the more undesirable parts of our own psyche. The Nazis genuinely believed they were fighting for a just cause. They weren't the cliché Hollywood villains. But we prefer to see 1,000 simulations of the horrors and tragedies than to actually deal with the fact that all of us are capable of doing such horrendous things, whether it's because we believe it's the right thing or to appeal to authority. And this rejection of meaning in favor of simulation is also why both sides of the political spectrum can't really deal with fascism properly, because right-wingers can't acknowledge that parts of their ideology or community is actually slipping into fascism, into real, actual fascism. Because their idea of a fascist is a movie villain with a German accent and weird obsessions, right? While left-wingers carelessly throw around the term fascist, like, you fascist pig, basically calling everyone more right-wing than, I don't know, Karl Marx a fascist. And what it does is it reduces the word's true seriousness and meaning from an authoritarian ideology to simply meaning someone is evil, like he's the bad guy, guys. So when, as a society, we begin to overuse the term fascist, it will become in a way powerless. And this is dangerous because when the real conditions of fascism begin to reappear, militarized nationalism, very charismatic authoritarianism, state violence, no one will believe it. Everyone will say, well, you told this guy is a fascist, everyone's a fascist, whatever. Right? What are you saying, right? And they'll be desensitized. They'll be completely desensitized. The warning sign has been wrongly used so many times that it no longer works. We are already desensitized in a way. When you look at teenagers making war edits on TikTok, actual war edits, like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but there will be no epic battle music when you're fighting in a war and your friend over there is actually dying, or there's a grenade. Like, this is actual war, not a war core, right? They think it's war core, it's cool, right? Because we have erased the meaning of war and there's just the surface. And on the surface, right, in the films, war looks cool, right? There's things like flying and whatever. Or videos like that, the lion knows it was only 271k Jews and not 6 million. Like, this is actually crazy, right? Edits of literal dictators, right? Like, I get it if it's a bit ironical, but there are people who genuinely, or edits of literal dictators. Like, I get it if it's like ironically, right, with the Hello Kitty theme or whatever, but there are actually people on the internet who genuinely believe that these dictators were in some way just, or they'd say they were based, right? He was based. Like, Stalin was based, right? What a man he was. And with this idea, perhaps that's also why we love dark humor so much, because it allows us to disconnect from something that's often deeply meaningful and sad, often real, right? Very sad and real, very real. So we retreat into our simulations. And Baudrillard knew that we humans we love our simulations, right? I love my simulations, you probably love your simulations. And when I'm saying that he predicted the internet, or rather social media, I'm not saying that he predicted the exact physical idea of how it functions or operates, but what Baudrillard knew very well is that when a new, sophisticated, and effective way to build simulations comes, we will eat it up like candy, right? And its sweetness won't replace the rather bittersweet life in truth. It will simply make it irrelevant, lost in infinity, right? We'll add until we live in hyperreality right now. Now, I also wanted to include a part talking about how we simulate love, affection, and connection, stuff like that. But I will fuse this idea probably into another video. But let me know in the comments what you think about this idea and also the whole video, right? If you like, subscribe and share. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And to be honest, I'm currently not the YouTube algorithm favorite. But with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you very much.